When we think of an X-ray, we usually picture a simple black and white photo of our bones. A quick snapshot, right? But what if I told you that a truly great diagnostic image is so much more than that? The real art, the real skill, isn't just in taking the picture, it's in the incredible precision of how it's taken. So let me ask you this. Do you think a radiographer just points a machine at you and clicks a button once? Well, if you do, you're in for a real surprise. Because the secret sauce, the thing that changes everything, is a concept called projection. Okay, just look at this. On the left and on the right, you are looking at the exact same shoulder. These two images were taken literally moments apart. The only thing that changed? The patient just turned their arm a little bit. This is the perfect example of our big idea today. A tiny little shift in position can either reveal or completely hide absolutely critical information. And that specific, standardized position, well, it has a name. It's called a projection. You can think of it like a very carefully chosen camera angle. It's a fundamental tool in a radiographer's toolkit, and it's designed to bring one specific piece of your anatomy right into the spotlight. All right, let's see exactly how this idea of projection works to build a complete picture. We're going to start with a case study of the shoulder. It's a really complex joint, and it perfectly shows why one single view is almost never enough. So, to get the full story on what's happening in a shoulder, a radiographer isn't just going to take one picture. Nope, they perform a whole series of projections. Each one is kind of like a different chapter in a book, revealing unique details that, only when you put them all together, tell you the whole story. The first view in the series is usually what's called the external rotation. And just look at the level of detail here. The hand is supinated, that's a fancy way of saying palm facing forward. The arm is moved just slightly away from the body. Every single step is deliberate, and it's all designed to place the humerus, your upper arm bone, in its most natural anatomical position. And here is the payoff for all that careful positioning. This specific angle makes that bony bump on the side of the humerus, that's the greater tubercle where the arrow is pointing, stand out perfectly. And this is absolutely crucial because that little bump is a key attachment point for your rotator cuff muscles. So, if rotating the arm outward shows us that outside bump, what do you think happens when we rotate the arm inward? Well, you guessed it. We shift the spotlight to a completely different but equally important piece of anatomy. And there it is. With the arm now in internal rotation, that greater tubercle just kind of rolls out of sight, and suddenly the lesser tubercle, you can see it marked by the arrowhead, is in perfect profile. So two projections of the same shoulder, giving us completely different, vital pieces of diagnostic information. Pretty cool, right? Now, those standard views are great, but what happens when parts of the body get in their own way? This is where radiographers really have to become creative problem solvers, using these specialty projections like tools for really specific, tricky jobs. Here is a classic problem. When you try to look at the spine from the side, a person's own shoulders can create this dense shadow that completely blocks the view of the vertebrae right where the neck meets the back. So how do you see through them? Well, you don't. You move them. And you do it using this really clever method called the swimmer's technique. Check this out. The patient raises one arm up, kind of like a swimmer about to do the backstroke, and pushes the other arm down. This simple move pulls the shoulders apart vertically, and just like that, it opens up this perfect, unobstructed window to those lower cervical vertebrae. It's an ingenious solution, really, because seeing this area is vital. Trauma, like from a car accident, often impacts this specific spot, so getting a clear view can be the difference between spotting a serious fracture and missing it completely. Okay, here's another common problem. Has the shoulder actually popped out of its socket? Sometimes a straight-on view can be misleading. To really confirm a dislocation, you've got to see the joint from a totally different perspective. You need a side view. And this is the beautiful, elegant solution, the scapular Y projection. From this angle, the shoulder blade, the scapula, forms a really distinct Y shape. Now, in a healthy shoulder, the round head of the humerus should sit perfectly in the center of that Y. If it's shifted forward or backward, boom, you have a definitive diagnosis of a dislocation. It's simple, it's visual, and it is incredibly effective. So now let's take these principles and apply them to an even more complex structure, the spinal column. For the spine, finding the right angle isn't just helpful, it's absolutely essential if you want to see the tiny, intricate joints that hold the whole thing together. You see, the small joints that connect your lower vertebrae, they're called the zygapophyseal joints. They don't face straight forward or backward. They actually sit at an angle. So a standard front to back x-ray just shows them as a confusing mess of overlapping bone. The only way to see them clearly is to match their angle with what's called an oblique projection. And visualizing these joints is so important for diagnosing things like arthritis, which can cause chronic back pain. Now, when radiographers get this oblique angle just right, something pretty incredible is revealed. There's a hidden shape that emerges from all those complex shadows of the bone. And I promise you, once you see it, you will never be able to unsee it. Take a really close look. Do you see it? It looks just like a little Scottish terrier. You've got the transverse process as the nose, the pedicle as the eye, and then the other processes form the ears and the front leg. But this isn't just a cute visual trick. The neck of that Scotty dog represents a very specific part of the vertebrae. And if a stress fracture develops there, it shows up as a dark line. It looks just like a collar on the dog. This is a key diagnostic sign for a condition called spondylolisthesis, where one vertebra actually slips forward on another. So we've seen how positioning creates meaning. Now let's wrap this up by looking at what separates a good X-ray from a truly great one. It all comes down to a really rigorous set of criteria that define technical mastery in this field. In every radiographer's training, they learn this strict set of evaluation criteria. It's basically a checklist for perfection. Is the beam collimated, meaning is it focused tightly like a spotlight just on the area you need to see? Is the patient perfectly still, with zero rotation? And can you actually see the fine web-like bony detail inside the bone? These are the hallmarks of a true professional. A truly top-tier diagnostic image has all these things. The beam is perfectly collimated, using lead shutters to narrow the X-rays only to the area of interest. This not only makes the image clearer, but more importantly, it reduces the patient's radiation dose. The positioning is flawless. All the necessary anatomy is on the image. The exposure is this delicate dance. It has to be just right to show both the faint, soft tissues and that intricate, honeycomb-like detail inside the bone. And finally, the little markers indicating left or right are always there, clear as day. It is a craft of immense skill. So you see, an X-ray is not just a picture. It's a precisely constructed view, a story told through carefully chosen angles and shadows. So the next time you happen to see one, don't just see a skeleton. Look for the art. Look for the skill of the projection. And ask yourself, what story is this specific angle trying to tell me?